With us here on Morning Live. Now, Parliament's Portfolio Committee on Mineral Resources and Energy will today hold its Eastern Cape leg of public hearings at the Amathole and Baartman district municipalities, as well as Nelson Mandela Metropolitan Municipality. The discussions are part of Parliament's nationwide public hearings on the Gas Amendment Bill. Now, the bill aims, among other things, to amend the Gas Act of 2001 in order to provide for new developments and changing technologies in the gas sector. Sahlulele Luzipo, the chairperson of the Mineral Resources and Energy Committee, joins us now virtually. Mr. Luzipo, thanks for your time. Welcome to Morning Live.
Good morning, Sakina, and to viewers everywhere they are.
Mr. Luzipo, let's just start with defining this. So what exactly is the Gas Amendment Bill about, and what does it seek to correct, if you will?
Well, look, let me first say that these are the amendments that are suggested by the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, and therefore, as a portfolio committee, we are required to have what is called public hearings or consultation with the public, obviously on the basis of a sampled audience. Now, what the bill seeks to do are quite a number of issues. In fact, it purports to seek to do, because if I say it seeks to do, it means we already have, or I already have an opinion on. The committee at this stage has not been able to respond to the bill until we finalize the public hearing. But amongst other issues, the bill suggests that there is a need to make the amendments. Amongst those is about issues of non-compliance. For an example, a person who has been granted permission to trade on gas must be able to meet particular requirements, and the failure to do so, it then says there was absence of clarity on what sanctions or what penalties could be imposed. Now it then says that there can be a penalty of 2 million rands per day that can be imposed on failure for compliance. The second thing, it suggests that there is a need to relook on reinforcing the law as far as issues that relate to protection of environment, protection on the basis of workplace health and safety, but also protection of communities. It also seeks to bring in those who are historically disadvantaged on the mainstream activities on gas trading in terms of the gas market. So those are some of the issues that it seeks to do, but also it also addresses the issue as far as powers that should be vested both in the executive authority as well as on the role of the regulator on powers therefore that should be vested on them.
Mr. Luzipo, what percentage of our energy mix does gas make up?
Look, I think I would say it's quite a low level now. There are different. There's a difference of what is allocated on gas. If I'm not mistaken, it's not even on, at the level of 10%, and that is one of the challenges. But also, you will recall, Sakina, we must accept the fact that there is no common convergence. That different views on whether you should increase gas or you should decrease gas. But for instance, if you take in areas, and I'm not expressing a view, you would expect in the major rural areas that they will talk about the promotion of gas because as far as the emissions and other things, they are not necessarily highly affected. But also, the bulk of those communities, the failure that, for instance, the fact that there is regulation as far as cutting the trees and make wood, the issue of the inconsistency and the unreliability of electricity supply through ESCOM, and even wind and solar, they may not, because you will recall, rural communities are the ones that make bulk functions, whether it's wedding, it's cultural activities, in terms of the function they use. And the only thing that seems to be a possible viable option that they would have is now to rely on gas. And that, I would say, they may argue strongly in those rural areas that we need more enforcement as far as gas is concerned. But in others, when you go to the urban areas, you would expect that they will tell you that There is too much air pollution, and gas is just one of the contributory factors. So we need to take all those issues into consideration as we move forward.
Where does our natural gas come from at the moment, Mr. Luzipo? How much of it do we have, and how much exploration is currently taking place in this regard?
Look, it's quite difficult at times because also I think we've got about 5 types of gases that we're having and in different. But when you talk about natural gas, it is one of the areas that are quite contentious. You will recall part of the reason we go to areas like Sahlulele is that there's still a challenge with regards to gas exploration as far as shale gas is concerned. That will also include the areas like Beaufort West, the central where you are going. So it is quite difficult at this stage to say how much of the gas that by exploration is concerned because of particular disputes that we have in most of these areas. For instance, we can't say on shale gas how much because we have not been able to finalize that process due to certain disputes that exist in the sector on shale gas extraction and the issues relate to the dangers of shale gas extraction, whether it's about the extent to which you can go, the methods that you use, the impact it will have on the soil of the ground. Those are the things that unfortunately we still have to grapple with in order to reach a final destination. You will recall also the question of LNG is also a matter that was explored or has been raised that areas like Pucha may be an alternative as far as LNG is concerned. So most of the issues that relate to that, there's still some degree of uncertainty on what is it that finally we can say is an existing product as far as gas is concerned. But generally, we have gas like you see in many of these big companies, container gases and so forth. Those are the things that we say are common experiences that we have.
So against the backdrop which you've just outlined for us, Mr. Luzipo, what are the key objectives and goals of this particular bill? And also with regard to new developments, new technologies in this sector, do you think the public is sufficiently au fait with that particular knowledge for them to make meaningful input in this regard?
Look, that is exactly what we must get. Let me start with the latter part of your question. Look, that is exactly what also the committee must find. To what extent and how much public education has been done by the department, because it's not only the committee that must go to communities. It's also the committee is not the only one that has got that responsibility. The department also has got a duty and the responsibility to conduct similar exercises to get and also educate. So that when people make decisions, they make decisions on an informed basis. But from where we are sitting, it is an exercise that we will continue to pursue. So I wouldn't want to rule out that our people are more informed. The question will be on the different types of gases. What would you be expecting as contributions that people can make? For an example, like I made an example with the rural areas. They will mainly go to what we know as common gas, where you use gas containers in order to cook for big functions and so forth. They may be quite there. The question with regards to complex areas, like I talked about, gas extraction, like shale gas, those are some of the things that I think are important. But you will recall, Sakina, recently there's been a court case with regards to the seismic exploration that was proposed by one company, which the court has made the ruling. I think from that point, that's exactly what the court had made. It said there has to be proper consultations with our communities so that they can make those informed decisions. And that's some of the issues that obviously we'll be looking at as we conduct these public hearings.
And I'm very curious about that, because what would constitute proper consultative hearings with communities? How many? Is it the number of people? Is it the level of engagement? How does one gauge that?
Look, it has always been one of the issues that are a subject of judicial views. Whether you will recall that things some would say we think there is enough sufficient consultation and there's sufficient consensus, but others would say no, you need to be able to convince everyone. It's always a relative matter that can only be a subject of a judicial decision, whether your consultation was enough or not. But like we say, it is quite impossible that you can put your foot or your feet everywhere across the four corners of our country. It would be quite a tedious exercise. So you do what we would call is more of a sample research exercise. When you talk about the outcomes, the statistical outcomes of a research, it does not necessarily mean that you would have gone on each and every corner, but you try to sample, especially on key areas that you think that whatever decision that will be taken, it will have some impact on those particular areas or communities. And therefore, it means you must get a mixture of different constituencies or communities so that whatever you then reach a final destination. But in cases where there is a specific areas, at least it requires that your consultation should at least be almost 70% of the community. But in this case, because the legislation is not directed into a specific area, it is just an exercise where you say, these are the areas that might have be implicated on, but also by the mixture of communities, we can be able to have a general understanding of what could be the feeling of the different communities.
Well, Mr. Luzipo, just a quick final one. Energy and gas industries, as we've been discussing, are obviously niche industries understood by few amongst us, and the financial benefits that come along with that, therefore, are also being enjoyed by a few. So what can be done to broaden this particular sector and open it up to other players and encourage more people to come in?
Looks like you are putting me in an awkward position. At this stage, I don't wish to say what could happen because I might be in trouble. If I go to others, they will tell me, you already have a view, so why are you talking about public consultation? But in general, what the bill suggests is that by legislation, there has to be more opening up of the market to the historical disadvantaged communities. Obviously, it's up to communities also, but also to the community when it makes deliberation to say, does the bill, do those amendments go enough to then define what is it that is going to be done? Because to make a statement that the bill, we want to ensure that there is maximum participation of those who are historically disadvantaged, but you are not explaining the question how. And to what extent and in what form would you be able to do that? Would you do it by breaking down the monopolies, or would you do that by giving more opportunities to those, but which means would you require to have set aside? Those are the things, because as far as for what you have currently, it requires to be unpacked, and we think that through this public hearing, our communities and in the areas where we go, they will be able to empower the community to say, yes, we accept the commitment or the intentions of the bill, but we think there is limited on these particular areas, and therefore it requires to be improved in those areas. And I think as a committee, we'll take those recommendations of yours.
We'll have to leave it there for today, but of course we'll keep an eye on those developments. Thank you so much, Mr. Sahlulele Luzipo, Parliament's chairperson of the Mineral Resources and Energy Committee, on the provincial public hearings on the gas amendment bill currently underway since the latter part of 2021 and focusing on the Eastern Cape at the moment. Let's take a quick break.